Hey guys, welcome to Home Sweet Homeschool. My name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And this week I'm continuing my series of how we use the Brave Writer Arrow guides in our home. This is actually week 3. So if you haven't seen my past 2 videos and you're interested in how the arrow guide works, you can check those out. I have a week 1 and a week 2. So we're using a series of unfortunate events, the bad beginning. And I want to show you what we did on Friday. This would be to end week 2, but then to start week 3. So we do reverse dictation on Friday. I just go into Microsoft Word and I type up the copy word passage, and I make sure that I misspell the words that my son had chose for his spelling words. And I also leave out whatever it was that we talked about. And so in week 2, we talked about punctuation that is used when there is dialogue. So we talked about that during the week last week, and we pointed it out, we highlighted it, and so on his reverse dictation, that's what he's looking for. And I also keep this around right here. This comes in your how to use the arrow guide. I keep this so that he knows what he needs to put in there, and so of course he used this one, and he just kind of added the punctuation that's easier for him, and as long as he's got it in the correct spot, then I'm okay with that. So I keep that out. And then he chose to spell his words with letter tiles last week, so that was his spelling test. He used letter tiles to spell them. Sometimes he writes them the correct way down here at the bottom. So that's how we ended the week with reverse dictation. If you have not ever heard of reverse dictation, I do talk about it in the week 2 video, so you want to go check that out. So week 3 is what we're working on this week, and this is what it looks like. And so as you can see, this was given to him. He doesn't enjoy copywork, so I do not make him copy the passage. I hand him this and we read the passage together, and that's what we use to mark up. So the words that you see here that are circled are the words that he picked for his spelling words. He picked troop, standoffish, reluctant, and associate. So I thought those are pretty good words. We just practice them each day of the week so that by Friday in reverse dictation he can spell them. And then anything that you see highlighted are things that have been brought up in the arrow guide that we talk about. So he looks at this, and then I read from here. Like beforehand, I'm reading why she picked this passage. I'm looking at all the things that she notes so that when I go to talk to him about it, I know, hey, we're talking about standoffish, what it means, how it doesn't really work to describe Count Olaf, those kind of things. And then I highlight things that I want to make sure that I point out to my son. So she always has a how to teach this passage. So anything you see highlighted, that's like, okay, there's my teaching point. That's what I want to make sure I get across to him during this week. And then we also talked about, she had delightful definitions, and so it talked about how you need to go through the book and see how many definitions you can find. Sometimes the narrator is simply explaining what the word means, and then sometimes he attaches opinions to the definition. So we went through the first chapter today, and we looked at all of that. We tried to find how many words were given definitions. I love that aspect of this book because my son has learned a ton of vocabulary words that he didn't know prior to reading this story or watching the series on Netflix. So we've been through all of this. And then there was a grammar review of the Oxford comma. So we did talk about that. And if you look in the copywork, I got him to go back and he found it and highlighted it in pink. He remembered from the previous week how to use a comma. The other thing that we did this week was we used her big juicy questions. This comes with a lot of the stories, and so we've answered these first 4. I do not make him write them. You can use them as writing prompts. If your kids have a journal, they can respond and write, but my son likes to just talk about it. So we've answered the first 4 already. So today we did 5 and 6, and so I just want to finish them before we finish the book. So I just do a few at a time, and we really can talk about them, and I really like to see, how my son's thinking about all of this. So they're really good questions. And like number 6, is there a lot of creepy eyes in this book? What are they doing there? What other aspects of the book are strange and creepy? And so seeing what he finds strange and creepy, and discussing it with him, I've just learned so much. So Hopefully I can finish all of these before the book is done. And then I go back to my skill tracker, which is something new that she's just been adding. And I just put a little mark next to what we've talked about. So at the end of the month, I can kind of see what all we've covered. Do we need to cover more? What am I leaving out? And so I just have my little marks on the things we've covered. Then idioms are the literary element for the month, and I don't want to wait until the last week to talk about that. You can do it anytime during the month that you want to. But what I do with my son is I looked up an anchor chart on Pinterest. If you just do idiom anchor chart, there's a ton of them. I pulled it up on my iPad and we talked about the different ones, and he had heard so many of them without realizing that those are idioms. And then we also downloaded this, it's on his iPad, English idiom cards. And they're just really cute because they show a picture, they give you the idiom, they give you a sentence to kind of help you see what it means, and then they provide you with a picture, like a monkey on your back. And so he enjoys that, and that's something that we look at. And then in week 4, it will actually point out, kind of where that's used in the story. So anyway, this was week 3 of the Arrow Guide. We are really enjoying it. Like I said, we love this series. We love watching on Netflix, and I definitely recommend it if you have a child who is interested in these kind of books. So be on the lookout for week 4. That will be our last video in this series. And it's also going to have, week 4 will have some ideas for a party. A lot of her Arrow Guides come with like a party school idea. We didn't actually have a party school with this book, but we had a birthday party theme to this, and so I was just going to kind of give you some ideas of the food that we had and how we decorated it. So that will come up next week in week 4. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about Brave Rider or this Arrow Guide, please leave them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. Also, like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks so much for watching.